Greetings, Eric Bakker. Thank you for checking out my video. It's good to be back. I've had a bit of a break. Nothing like a break. I've got lots of stuff to go through today. And again, many different types of questions that I get through the Candida Crush YouTube channel. So I'm going to reply to a few of these. The first question I get quite regularly asked is, will a Candida Cleanse kill parasites? That's a very good question. And there's no one simple answer to that question. That's like you're asking me, will the sun shine tomorrow? You know, your guess is as good as mine. But what I can tell you, many cases I see of people with parasites either respond initially to treatment or don't respond. But I don't generally focus hardcore on parasites when I first see a patient, especially if they can afford to do a stool test. Now, not everybody can do that, because a stool test, a very good one through a reputable US lab like Genova Diagnostics or a doctor's data, it's going to cost you about $200 or $300. Now, for some people, that could be a whole year's wages. For other people, they're going to earn that in 5 minutes. So it's difficult for me often to work with parasites with people if I haven't completed, with that patient, a proper stool test. So let's make the assumption that you have been able to afford the stool test, particularly 3 days in a row. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or, a day apart is okay, but we ideally want to assess the stool over a several-day period. It's a really good idea to do that. Parasites have life cycles, so if you're very keen on checking out for parasites, a good thing for you to do is to get a test done on multiple days. Doing a test on 1 day is not sufficient to detect a parasite, right? But in saying that, if you've had very bad, loose bowels, you've been traveling maybe to a third world country and you've got a parasite, you absolutely know you've got one, because before you went to the Caribbean or Bali or wherever, your bowels are fine. But then when you got back home, it was bad. You went to the doctor, you had one single stool test, a parasite was revealed. That's a different ballgame from what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is, will a Candida Cleanse kill parasites? Perhaps you've had a parasite for a long time in your gut. We've done a stool test. We find a parasite, particularly like it could be Dientamoeba or Blastocystis hominis, which is so common today. I see it in about probably 60% of stool tests. So let's just assume you've got Blastocystis in all 3 stool samples. And then I'm interested to look at the remainder of the microbiology profile to see what you've got. Show me your hand. It's like playing poker. There's weak hands and there are strong hands. Now, you can't bluff your way out of this one because you're going to have a lot of symptoms, right? So let's just say you've got some yeast in your gut, you've got some parasites in your gut, you've got low levels of beneficial bacteria, you may have multiple dysbiotic bacteria that need treating. So what the hell are we going to do? We've got all this stuff there, all these bad guys who've got to get out of the room. Who are we going to point the finger at first to tell to leave? Doesn't work like that. What I tend to do is look at the strength of the stool test and the weaknesses. I tend to look at the strength of the patient and their weaknesses. I look at their occupation, I would look at their lifestyle, what they're eating, different things like that. But it's not usually a good idea to go hell-bent straight out on a parasite if in the gut you've got bigger fish to fry, if you know what I mean. Let's say you've got multiple species of Candida in your gut, and you've got Candida, and you've got low levels of beneficial bacteria. Your symptoms are very important. So the practitioner should take a close look at your symptoms and a close look at your diet and make up his or her mind what they're going to do first. The bigger the problem, I'm not going to argue with you, the bigger the hammer required. But I don't like hitting people on the head with a sledgehammer when they first come to see me if they're very weak, if you get what I mean. Sometimes people need building up first before the gut needs tearing down. So there's no simple answer to this. But this I can tell you from experience is go easy. Take it nice and easy. Don't take 25 different types of antimicrobial stuff to try and wipe it all out. It's not that simple. An intelligent approach is required on a Candida Cleanse to eradicate parasites. I'm at the point now where I don't generally treat Blastocystis straight up. I don't do it. I will usually go for Candida first, dysbiotic flora like Citrobacter or Pseudomonas or Klebsiella. I like to get rid of those guys. I hate those guys. They go, and they're not that hard to shift. So I like to go for them first. And guess what? Often when we do that, the blastocystis gets weak, and it will drop in the subsequent test from 3 hits from in each sample. It will often drop back to 1 or 2. So we'll only find it in 1 or 2 samples. But if you really want to get it down to 1 sample on a subsequent test, get the beneficial bacteria up and running by eating the right kind of foods. It's not just all about probiotics. You need to eat the right food. Eating good food, for example, steamed vegetables, some lean proteins, build that gut flora up and up. So it'll become so powerful, blasto will just take a hike. It won't like it. I've seen that in many cases. And naturally, you'll need to eat around what you can and can't eat. But to recap on this, it's not easy, but also it doesn't have to be complicated to do this. Don't have a primary focus on parasite. Focus on the integrity and health of the gut in general. Improve the diet. Look at something like my Candida Remove product, which I designed for parasites, for Candida, and for dysbiotic flora. It's one of the only products I know on the market that will work on all 3. You don't need to take it in high dose, but it will work nicely in the background, especially when you improve your diet. I can easily say that 70% of people I work with blastocystis get rid of it. You don't have to have a parasite like that all your life. And there could be another parasite too, like dientamoeba. So get the gut in a strong, healthy, powerful position. Same thing as your bank account. If your bank account's in a strong, powerful, healthy position, it's much easier to have, make better choices in your life and get ahead. So think about that. Don't go necessarily for the parasites. All right? Thanks for the question.